The Creative Process Podcast with Peter Papagiorgio and Catherine Sally.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Creative Process Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Papagiorgio, with my beautiful partner in crime,
Catherine Natali.
and Chanel.
Chanel is here.
I think you might be able to see Maximus.
Maximus.
Maximus is the dog that belongs to our guest here, Greg Korin.
Greg Korin.
Hello. Now, Greg is an actor. He's a writer. He's a singer. And he's also a comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
How about that?
Boy, you know, this guy, I don't know about you, Greg. You're like just walking
Very
talent
talented.
everywhere.
Everywhere I go, people are like, "Hey, you're that guy."
You're the guy, yeah. I've seen that guy somewhere.
They can
I've
never
seen
t-
that face.
Yeah, they can never tell me which guy I am, but they know I'm that guy.
You're that guy. I saw you on television.
I seen you. You're that guy. You're
You got a familiar face.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway, Greg, tell the audience a little bit about yourself,
okay.
or a lot about yourself.
Well, just
Oh, a little bit, a lot, maybe like not too much, not too little, like in between.
tell me when to stop.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
I was born and raised in central Montana, and I was interested in acting from a very early age. When I was I started school a year earlier than I should have.
So how old were you at that point?
4.
Wow.
So I guess
Okay.
your parents wanted to
Get him out of the house,
get
for
rid of you.
Christ's
Yes,
sake.
get rid of him.
Get rid of them.
No, see, this is going to sound weird. I taught myself to read when I was 3 years old by watching TV.
That is too weird.
Yeah, because
Okay, you were watching TV at 3 years old.
Yeah.
What shows were you watching?
I was watching Hawaiian Eye, 77 Sunset Strip.
Hawaiian Eye was with Robert Conrad,
Uh-huh.
who was in the Wild Wild West
Yep.
before he became famous.
Yep. And
Hawaiian Eye.
Hi.
Gunsmoke.
Connie Stevens.
Connie Stevens, who I met later when I moved here to Las Vegas.
She was a little hottie, that's for sure.
Oh, she was then, too. I met her like 20 years later when I moved to Las Vegas.
Oh, you met her on
And-
the strip?
Yeah,
Oh.
at the Aladdin, which
Nice.
is now Planet Hollywood.
Wow.
But she was still a hottie. I was at her 40th birthday party. Whoo! Yes.
I got to tell you.
Yeah, let me tell you. And this was in the 70s, so you know what it was. You know what that was probably
Oh,
like.
yeah, baby.
Ah.
Anyway, so you want to continue with your
But-
story about watching TV and
Well,
learning how to-
anyway, in those days, when the title cards would come up, the announcer would say the title of the show. You know, like Hawaiian Eye or the FBI, a Quinn Martin production. You know, and I figured out that what the guy was saying was what it said on the TV. So
Very nice, Greg.
yeah. So I taught before you know it. I was reading. You know, my mom worked at a grocery store, so she was bringing comic books home, and I was reading them to all the neighborhood
Spider-Man,
kids.
Superman.
Well, no, this was before that. This was Superman.
Superman.
Yeah,
But this
Superman.
was a few years before Spider-Man.
Oh, before Spider-Man.
Did you
right,
save
right.
the comic books?
I did, and I sold them all before I left Montana.
Wow.
Yeah.
Greg, you could have been a millionaire today.
Yeah, I know.
You
But
screwed up,
there's
buddy.
another story too. There's another story. But anyways, so they put me in school a year early, and the public school system in Great Falls wouldn't take me. So my aunt was Catholic, so she got me into a Catholic school, and we had a French nun there who was teaching everyone how to speak
Get
French.
me to a nunnery.
Well, no, she taught us all the kindergarten kids how to speak basic French,
That's good.
and then
Do you
our-
still remember it now?
it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me 'cause-
Parlez-vous français?
because yes, parlez-vous français?
revoir.
Oh, oui, très bien. And the because
Jacques in the box?
we this is my friend Jacques Strap. We had a French girl from Cirque du Soleil audition for Evil Dead, and she was speaking French all the time, and it came back to me in little bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But our kindergarten class play was Little Red Riding Hood in French. We had to learn it all in French.
Wow.
And so that's when I bless you. That's when I decided that that I liked acting. And plus, in those days, you know, as I got older, each house only had one TV set, and you watched what Dad watched.
And back then, I'm sure the TV was
black and white.
Black and white. And in that part of Montana, we only had
3 stations?
2.
Two.
Two stations.
Oh my God.
What was
And-
it, like Channel 2, Channel 4?
It was
or-
Channel 3 and Channel 5.
Right.
And
Which was what, ABC,
Channel
CBS?
Channel 3 was the NBC station and Channel 5 was the ABC station, and then they would split up the CBS programming and run them at really weird times.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And but you watched what Dad watched. So Dad watched Jackie Gleason. Dad watched Ed Sullivan.
Okay.
Dad watched Red Skelton. If there was a Marx Brothers movie on, Dad watched that. If there was a W.C. Fields movie on, Dad watched that. And
Abbott and Costello?
Abbott and Costello. In fact, the Channel 3 had a thing.
Chanel, stop that.
I think our co-host Chanel is upstaging us.
Abbott and Costello every Friday after school. Channel 3 had an Abbott and Costello movie to start the weekend
Oh,
off.
okay.
So we watched all of that.
Pardon my sarong.
And
Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
settle down now.
Chanel.
It's Chanel.
I've
So-
never seen Chanel like that before.
So we got here. Oh, Max is getting upset. So, anyways, what we would do is, that gave me a whole new appreciation of comedy, and then I would memorize the jokes and tell them at school, and that's where all of that came from. That's where all of that came from. So
Catherine, what are you doing?
I got that.
Okay.
I got that appreciation through that, and that's what I did
No. Okay.
as a child.
No. It's okay. Don't worry about it. This is live, so, I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Live TV, folks.
Got a little problem with Chanel, so.
Live TV, folks. Live TV.
Well, somebody has to watch it. Just don't leave her out there. Catherine,
She'll be fine.
no, tell James. I mean, because if someone opens the door, she could walk right out. That's all we need. Oh, where's Chanel? I don't know.
Oh, she's out playing in traffic. She's riding the elevator up and down. And so so that's where that came from. You got the appreciation of comedy through that, and then I would.
Did you like who was when you were watching these movies? Who would like your favorite comedian? Not whatever comedians.
Well, I liked Red Skelton because he did
Skelton.
all the different characters, but then
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason also had all the different characters.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And Dad also liked Danny Thomas, Bob Hope. I mean, everything. You name it, my dad would watch it. And
So tell us, so later on you're in high school,
uh-huh.
and that's when you started getting the confidence to act, or?
Yeah, well, we had a really good drama coach at my high school, and he had an eye for
He had one eye or two eyes?
he had two eyes, but one of them was a special eye.
The middle eye.
Yeah, he had the third eye.
Yes.
And he could
Twilight's on
spot-
episode.
He could spot people. He said, okay, that kid's good. She's good. He's not so good, but she's good. He's good. And so he would kind of take a certain group of kids, of which I was a member, and just kind of like push us in certain directions
Yeah.
to do things. So like he would somehow, I guess Carol Burnett made them available to high schools. Scripts from her
Oh.
from the TV
Wow.
from the TV
Yeah.
show.
Oh.
Yeah. And so he got a hold of a bunch of those, and he put us all in a group. I think there was 6 of us, three guys, 3 girls, and he would send us around to all the other classes.
Now, did you play the Tim Conway parts?
I was Harvey Korman most of
Harvey
the time.
Korman.
So comedy is your thing, or is it
I was
everything now?
Well, now it's everything because I've branched out into somehow, and I don't know how I ended up in the Shakespeare, the local Shakespeare group
Here in Vegas.
here in Vegas. Yes, the Shakespeare Institute of Nevada.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh yeah, so I ended up doing everything. I was King Duncan in Macbeth, which is not funny.
How do you approach the creative process in regards to anything you're doing, writing, acting?
Well, writing, I have to be inspired.
What inspires you?
Different things. Different things. It could be just something that somebody said.
And it's just like bing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I was watching something that I never watch. I was just channel surfing, and I saw the Money Guy on.
Oh, Kramer.
Yeah. And he said something about the Mongolian stock exchange. There's a Mongolian stock exchange? Boom. I wrote a sketch about the Mongolian Stock Exchange, like
Right.
Genghis Khan and all these
Yeah.
guys. What is that? What is that? And and then we did a lot of improv for Evil Dead, and we wanted to do some backstage videos.
Yeah, so tell us about Evil Dead, because you were on for 5 years
Yes.
in Las Vegas Strip.
Yes.
So tell us, what was it like at the first night of opening when you did the role of Jake?
I was
Because
scared.
that character was off the wall.
Well, you guys saw it after I'd been doing it for about 2 or 3 years. My first night up there, I was like, because we only got 3 rehearsals.
That's it.
That's it.
It?
You went in. You had to have your lines learned. You went in for your blocking rehearsal. Then after your blocking rehearsal, you went in for your music rehearsal, and then right after your music rehearsal was your choreography rehearsal, and then you were on stage.
So tell me,
Yeah, so-
tell me about, because you sang, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pre-recorded. So how does that work? If you screw up,
Well, if
then you're
What the song is
The
pre-recorded
song-
with the,
the
singing?
music,
the
music
music
was-
is pre-recorded. So if you
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know, you kind of screw up a little bit, how do you survive?
You just have to keep going,
Yeah.
because the music was like when you've got a live band on stage, you can work with them and you can rip off
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
But if you got pre-recorded music, and that kind of scared me at first too, because I'd never done a pre-recorded show before.
Right.
I've always worked with live musicians,
As opposed to dead.
as opposed to I had a couple of you don't know about anyway. So
Halloween is coming up.
and it was we had zombies. So it took some getting used to, because if you're like out of step, or if you're not quite on the meter,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and you have to adjust yourself to the music. The musicians can't adjust themselves to you.
That's
Yeah,
true.
right,
That's
yeah,
true. So
yeah.
if you miss a lyric,
Yeah.
did you ever miss lines? How do you survive being on stage and you miss a cue or a line? I could probably do like a lot of stories on my part when
Well-
I act on stage or whatever.
You have to improvise.
Yes, improvise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes your partner is the one who forgot the line,
Oh, yeah.
and you're waiting because there's action. And that line is not coming, and you're kind of like, I will get a pot of tea now.
Yeah.
You know?
We actually had to do that because, like I said earlier, we only got 3 rehearsals.
Yeah.
And they threw one girl on stage, and she was not ready. And
What happened then?
yeah, she blanked on us quite a few times, and that's when you just look. Fortunately, we had another cast member. I called him Giant Ash because he was 6'8". But you just
He played the Bruce Campbell part.
the Bruce Campbell role. Yeah, and you look up, and I'd look at him, and he'd look at me, and we just start riffing. Say, aren't you supposed to be? No, not me. Well, what do you call it when? Hey, is this like John F. Kennedy? It's
You guys had a lot of props,
we did.
and that's tricky too. Props can be great, and they can be a nightmare.
Especially when they fall apart when you pick them up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of bad.
Yes, one night he grabbed his chainsaw and the blade fell off. And
How'd you get around that?
he riffed on it again, and I just picked it up and jammed it back on and said, "There, I fixed it." And his boomstick fell apart a couple times
Oh,
too.
wow.
When he goes to fire it, and then the barrel falls off, and you just have to $79.95 at S-Mart. That's,
I had an experience one time. I had to change clothes in between the scene, and my shoes were missing. And I was going on a date. It was a play where I was about to go on a date, and I couldn't find my shoes backstage. And I kept going to the stage manager, and he kept going, I don't know where they are. I go, what? So what I did was I walked out barefooted.
yeah.
I said, well, I'm sorry. I lost a shoe. So I'm going to go outside on our date barefooted. I want to figure out how it feels.
Yes, so we can go barefoot in the grass.
Yeah, barefoot in the grass.
Oh, we had
And
one
the
girl.
guy should have said, you know what? I'm going to do it too.
Yeah, let's both
I'll
take off
my shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll run around barefoot.
Yeah.
Well, we had one girl who was she had terrible stage fright.
Oh.
And she'd run off stage and barf. But the sound guy wouldn't turn her microphone off. So we'd be right in the middle of the scene and you'd hear,
Oh no!
Oh, my God, Greg.
Oh,
there's
wow.
Cheryl again. There's Cheryl.
Yo,
Oh, she's crazy.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Hey, Greg, do you want to tell the audience, what kind of like what projects you've worked on in the past?
Well, there was Evil Dead, and right after Evil Dead closed, I did Young Frankenstein for a whole month.
What part did you play?
It was a double role. It was Inspector Kemp. Elliot is an ugly thing. And then the Blind Hermit.
Okay.
So that was fun too because I'd have to run off stage, take off my Inspector Kemp outfit, put on the Blind Hermit robes, put on a wig, and then run back
Wow.
on stage.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that was over, run off stage again, put the Inspector Kemp thing, and I was always double checking to make sure that I took the wig off before I went back on.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then, so that was crazy. And then right after that is when I got indoctrinated into the Shakespeare group. And
But you used to do radio too, I remember.
yeah, I did
Back in,
radio. Well,
was it Montana?
my first radio job was right here in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. That's right. That's
I
right,
was I was the studio engineer for the UNLV Runnin' Rebels basketball game. And then they heard me do a couple of live station identification breaks, KMJJ 1140 AM North Las Vegas. And they said, hey, this guy sounds pretty good. Let's put him on our FM station on the weekends. And then from there I went back to Montana and did mornings there for 8 years. And from there I went to Scranton, Pennsylvania, where I did
The Office.
Yes, I did. I got to meet most of those guys. There was an office convention in town right before I left. And I have a video on YouTube where we make fun of the dialect. There's an actual dialect
Of Scranton.
in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And in fact, Greg Daniels, the producer, he says, yes, I've seen the video, but I don't want it to be that regional. They're the only person on The Office who could actually be from Scranton is Dwight. Everybody you go to Scranton, everybody there is Dwight Schrute. Everybody. But anyway, so I was there for 20 years. And worked at every radio station in town, did every shift. I even worked at WVIA, member-supported public radio for the northeastern Pennsylvania area and the Poconos. Programming on WBIA is brought to you by our sponsors. Thank you, sponsors. And
So what made you go to Vegas? Like everybody goes to California
well,
or New York City, but California.
Well, when I first came here in 1977, I had just graduated.
1977, you know who was here, right?
Yeah.
Forget about it. Hey, Greg, you want a job?
That's another story.
That's another job. Hey.
My brother was the worst bookie in town, and those guys were always coming over to his house. Hey, Bobby, you know.
We're looking for Bobby. I'm Greg, his brother.
Yes,
Nothing to do with him.
Bobby's over at Gus Gallo's, which was a big mob restaurant where the Virgin Hotel is now. Anyways, so I came down, and Bobby called me. He was a boss at Caesars at the time. And he calls me up. I just got graduated from Montana State. And he says, congratulations, big shot. You just got a liberal arts degree from an agricultural school. What the hell are you going to do with it up there? And I actually took him in and I said, I never ever gave that any thought.
Obviously.
So I came down here and lived with him, and I got into IATSE Local 720.
Okay.
And I lived at his place until his wife threw me out. And
Get out of here, you bum. Get a job.
Well, no, I had a job. She just said, get out of here. And so I was taking calls through the Union Hall, and I was also doing singing telegrams. And
I remember those.
I got thrown out of every casino on the Strip.
Oh my God.
I got sick
Because of the singing telegrams?
Yes, it was too disruptive, and the casino managers didn't like it. So the minute they saw me walk in,
Did they come in with like two goons to just pick you up?
just about. security would just stop me.
Yeah, they knew your face.
Yeah, and I wore a bright red outfit too, with a top hat. And the minute I walked in the front door, the security guys were right there. I'm like, okay, all right. But so I did that, and then I got married, went back to Montana. But yeah, I did.
Wow.
But that's how I ended up here in Vegas, and then I was here for 6 years the first time, and then 11 years ago, my wife started working here. The company that she worked for was opening an office here, so she came out here, and about 2 years later, she said they offered me the job as the manager of the Vegas office. Do you want to move back to Vegas? And I said, I packed yesterday. And so then we came back, and we've been here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here.
So, I was going to say comedy. You like to do drama? Like, when you do a character, do you do a certain? I mean, how do you prepare for a character?
Well, the first thing I have to do is learn my lines.
And you're pretty much at the starting point.
Yeah. But see, while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about things. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite a method actor, but I've got to kind of put myself in that guy's shoes. Where is he coming from? What is he? What are his thoughts?
His intentions. What does he want?
Yeah. And so I'm doing that, and I really have to use the rehearsal process because that's where I discover things.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people who are not in the entertainment business don't realize how hard it is to act.
Oh yeah.
They just think you just show up, you say a line, and you go home, which is true to some degree, but it takes so much preparation and so much concentration.
Especially when it's live stage.
And especially when it's live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And people don't get, they just think, actors are stupid or whatever, but we're not. We have to know about history. We have to know about dialects. We have to know about a lot of different things.
The actor-comedian John Leguizamo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when he had a one-man show on Broadway, I saw this little documentary on him. And he would get to the theater at 2:00 in the afternoon for his 8:00 show.
Oh yeah,
because it was a one-man show.
Oh,
and he had to prepare himself. I mean, he had to just get so focused.
When you do eight shows a week, you don't have a life.
No,
you
don't
have a life. I mean, it's just. You're always, if you're not on stage, you have to watch that you don't hurt yourself. You have to watch your mind is constantly, involved with the show. And you don't have a life.
You bring a lot of stuff home with you too.
Yes.
Like when the show's over, it's not over for you.
Right. Yeah.
That stuff stays with you for a long time. I know. I did Glenn Ross.
Oh,
did you?
Great show.
I was Shelley Levine.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I drove my.
That was in the movie. That was
Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon. Yeah.
And
in the phone booth.
Yes.
Yes.
And I drove my daughter nuts. At the time, my daughter and her kids were living with me, and her kids were like, "What's wrong with Grandpa?" And I drove her nuts because Shelley Levine came home with me every night. And Shelley Levine was around for about 2 weeks after the show closed.
Wow.
And my grandkids are like, "Is Grandpa sick?"
Yeah, that's true.
Funny.
I guess it affects, the creative process. It affects your wife, your husband, your kids, because you're so self-absorbed in the character. Mm-hmm. It's true. Now, what do you do to wind down when you've done a character and you come home and late at night you just watch TV or?
Well, that's. You guys have seen my house. I build a lot of models. I have like all the Lost in Space models. I just got the Land of the Giants ship.
That's true.
All the Star Trek spaceships.
Mostly Irwin Allen.
I have
stuff, yeah.
I have a Seaview submarine.
Yeah.
I haven't tackled it yet because once I build it, it's going to be about as long as that piece of wood there. It's going to.
Do you have
enormous.
Do you have the yellow flying sub?
Yes, it's a little one that goes up inside it, and you can put it there. And it's I haven't tackled that one yet. That's intimidating. But that's what I do to wind down. I paint. I put things together.
Right. So you continue to create.
Yeah, that's how I loosen up.
Speaking of create, it's time to wrap.
Yeah, the
Try to
creative
wrap up the
process.
Creative Process podcast. Greg, do you want to give the audience a little contact information about you, buddy?
Okay, well,
Anybody who wants to contact Greg Korin?
my phone number is 702-426-1470.
No, it's not.
Yeah, well, no, I don't have a landline anymore. We got rid of that. Don't confuse me like that. Don't give out somebody else's phone number and mess the whole thing up. 702-426-1470.
Do you have a website?
No, I do not.
Do you have an email?
Well, you're on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook.
Yeah, you can find them on Facebook.
Well, not right now. You can't because I got thrown in Facebook jail.
Oh my God.
Their algorithm doesn't understand sarcasm.
That's true. Wow. Anyway,
Oh, wow.
Greg, thank you for being on the Creative Process
thank
podcast.
you.
And
Thank
the
you so
creative
much.
process continues.
Bum, bum,
Bum,
ba,
bum,
da, da,
bum,
bum, ba, dum. See you next time, folks.
Bye.